Welcome back to Pink Glue, telling you the truth, or at least exploring the truth to the best of our ability. There's many, many ways to approach this story today, but I think the direction I want to go on this is twofold. One, are we put in the right place at the right time? I mean, have you ever thought of a question and then in a little while later, you hear something on the radio that answers that question? I mean, we can joke now that on your smartphone, you can do a web search for something, and then all of a sudden they give advertisements in YouTube, as an example, to give you discounts. Well, that's tracking you down in programming. But what's going on a bigger level? Because this has happened for forever, right? And if you look back in your life at how often this happens, it'll be a random person coming to you, very much likened to what we speak of the Matrix. But beyond that, as we don't have answers in that direction, we do look to God for our answers. And in looking to God, we are able to get the responses. And it is my choice to give credit in that direction. But in this case, sometimes it's not the right place at the right time. And this is what I want to pull up here. This is a route that I take to take my son to and from school. So this was an off-duty San Jose police officer's car was struck by gunfire on northbound Highway 101. There's a lot of different angles with this, as I've mentioned. The right place at the right time, the wrong place at the right time, how we're getting information. But this is really interesting, I thought, because this is a South Bay freeway, so this is right here in Silicon Valley, and this is the ramp that if you're northbound, you're leaving the Sunnyvale area and you're crossing over into Mountain View and then into Palo Alto. If you're coming from the west, you're coming around on Highway 85 and it loops around right there and merges into 81 going north. And there's a lot going on there. If you don't want to take the off ramp, you would take something called Shoreline, and Shoreline takes you right through the Google property and right to what I call the Google Lake, but it's Shoreline Lake that's right there. What's interesting is, wild activity, you would say, well, it's your fault. You were in a place you shouldn't have been, and it was, during the darkness of the night. These are kind of ideas that we have. This was a bullet. They're not even calling it a shooting because they're choosing their words, correct? At 2 p.m., 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Now, we've been studying a lot about numbers and signaling. Tuesday at 2 was very, very interesting. But there's a lot going on at this intersection. During the lockdowns that we had, somebody, and certainly not me, I didn't get to vote on it, decided that that road is now a toll road. California, at least Northern California, has very, very few toll roads, and they're slowly creeping in. They're not American owned. It's a French owned company, if it's still owned by then. It's probably been bought out since my last research. But they're making us pay for the roads that we pay for. This comes out of our tax dollars, out of every time we spend money at the gas station. This is to make, and now all of a sudden we have to pay for these roads. So this section has a lot going on. Now, I don't know who did this. I don't think it would be very difficult to identify who did this. Just as in the FBI situation of the explosive being put around the DNA and GOP buildings right before the J6 event. It's very clear. Whoever did that had to arrive there somewhere. They walked, they took a bike, they took public transportation. There's no train, so that wasn't an option. They took a car. How did they get there? The localization of how far somebody could have been shooting and from what angle is not that much. And almost all those cars go by there have cameras on them. And those buildings right there are Google buildings. They have cameras too. Localize, identify, and this is a situation again where you have a crime and you find the people. This isn't people hunting down and then fit a crime. There's a crime and find the people. Well, what I wanted to say here is this is especially interesting because this is noted to happen at 2 p.m. It wasn't exactly at 2, but this is the timestamp they're giving it. But on Tuesday, August 30th, I drove right past this point at about 10 minutes to 2. It might have been quarter to 2, but between that area of quarter to 2 and 10 minutes to 2, I drove right past that point. And I 100% know that because I picked up my son from school just a few exits down, got back on the freeway, and we had to wait on our side because of looky-loos looking over the other side of the freeway. The other side of the freeway was completely stopped in all lanes except for those who were going around it by using the access paths on the far right. And it was stopped for a long time. There were a lot of people walking around on the freeway. And as we know from the article, the people walking around were looking for more evidence. But I didn't see anybody off the side looking for evidence. The whole thing is just bizarre. And what I want to point out is no, this event of what's going on is not something over there. It is something right here. It's affecting all of us today. And it's going to get worse. It absolutely is going to get worse. So here it says a San Jose police officer was off duty, was driving his personal car when it was struck with at least one of these. Now, this is a darkness. I don't even know if this was the same day because when I went by, again, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we were looping back. It was about 2:45, 2:50 when we went by. And of course, it's daylight. All roads were blocked. And there isn't, it looks like it's showing a two-story here. There is no two-story at that intersection like that. So if it's side by side as 85 is merging, but it was down further on the freeway where this happened. So I'm not sure. Oh, this is another a shooting that's going on. So I'm seeing, even when you go to the thumbnails, and I pulled this up yesterday a little bit, if you go to just typing in news, here's a page right here, right? Most of these are stories, and I showed you raw stories, lead stories. It's not news. And you also see that they're clickbait. Any of them you click on, the picture never has to do with the incident. They're just creating an image. And unfortunately, when they use people, I think that's very sad. They're linking that image to the situation. But they're clickbait. They never have anything to do with the story. Once you get inside, go back, and that picture is not that person. It could be a girl, and the story's about a guy. It's it's absolutely insane. I just saw this. We'll go back to real fast. More kids are repeating a grade. Is it good for them? And I'll point out once again, the quick side note, Palo Alto School District decided not to buy fifth grade curriculum. They are setting these kids up to fail. Okay, but let's go back to this right here, this intersection, and obviously that's not the picture. But at this intersection on 85 northbound, where I'm sorry, 101 northbound as 85 intersects, this is a very famous location. This is the same one that the Apple engineer was test driving his Tesla. And it came out a couple years later in 2020 that in fact, according to the National Transportation Safety Board, that the Apple engineer was playing smartphone video games during the fatal crash. Now, let's see if the picture, it wouldn't pop up before here. This is an Apple engineer. He 100% knew software on the video. He was specifically a software engineer, from what I understand. And yet he had told his wife that he was testing the limits of the car. He was taking something that was called an autopilot function that was sold to me self-driving, which is not, and I am adamant, being from that industry, it is advanced lane keeping. That is extremely different than self-driving. But this gentleman thought it would be wise to play a game instead of watch the road. what happened is his car veered into a T that was in the middle of the freeway because, again, this is now the opposite direction. One section veers off to the right, which takes you to 85, and then one section continues straight to 101. The thing is, to get into the carpool lane of 85, you would go all the way to the left-hand side of the freeway there and then loop up and over 101. And that portion of the freeway where you would get in the express lane, and mind you, he had one person, not two, but because of a Tesla, he could do that. He hit the divider that divided the two freeways. And this is in the same place that this is happening. I absolutely ask for prayers, not only for this area, whatever is going on in that area now with the tolls, which are very odd, the constant accidents, and now the projectile. This is not something that's a NIMBY, not in my backyard. This is going to be affecting all of us if it all isn't already. So please be vigilant, keep your families healthy and happy, and even in the brightness of the day, stay as absolutely healthy and safe as possible. Have a blessed day.